The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler, February 17th, St. Polychronius of Babylon. The personage that the Roman Martyrology presents to us on this date was a bishop of Babylon, victim of the persecution of Decius. It is Bede who presents him to us in this way, making more precise the somewhat laconic mention made by the Jeronymian Martyrology, manuscripts of Echternach, Bern, and Wissenborg. The Martyrology simply tells us of a Polychronius in Babylon, and to complete this indication, Bede turns to the Gesta Sancti Laurentiae, where we read the following details. A persecution arose under the Emperor Decius, and many Christians were put to death. There was in Babylon a bishop named Polychronius. There were also the priests Parmenas, Helymus, and Chrysosteles, whose names will appear in the Roman Martyrology of April 22nd. Decius himself had Bishop Polychronius presented to him with his deacons and priests. To the invitation to sacrifice to the gods, Polychronius refrained from giving any answer. Parmenas then intervened to explain this silence, and Decius made him cut out his tongue. He then insisted with Polychronius, but could get nothing out of him. Then the emperor made him strike him in the mouth with such violence that the bishop, raising his eyes to heaven, expired. This narrative has seemed very suspicious to Tillemont, Memoires pour Servir, since it is based on an untenable fact, the expedition of Decius against the Persians, from which he concludes that it would be necessary to have other memoirs other than the Gesta Laurentiae to support the fact. After all, it may well be that Polychronius was martyred in Babylon, as the Jerome Martyrology testifies, but both he and his companions must have suffered because of a persecution aroused by the kings of Persia. The other martyrologies following Bede named Polychronius on February 17th. Thus Florus, in the Vetus Romanum, gives him the quality of bishop, and finally Adon Quentin also mentions him. On the other hand, the question remains whether Polychronius, bishop of Babylon, martyred in Persia, is not the Polychronius venerated in Cyprus. A martyred saint of this name is presented to us in a 3-volume Panegyricon, the author of which was Neophytus, the recluse. The feast of this Polychronius was celebrated on October 7th, but he had a second celebration on February 17th. A somewhat floating character, he does not seem to have been Cypriot in origin. He was one of those solitaries of the religious history of Theodoret, whose biography is rather confused. He lived in the time of Constantine the Great. His parents employed him to guard the flocks, and one day he performed a miracle, to water the animals. In the course of time, he left his homeland and went to Constantinople with 10 other vine dressers to be employed as laborers in a vineyard. Following a complaint from his master, he returned to his country, built an oratory, was ordained a priest, and, it is said, also a bishop. After Constantine's death, the heretics sought him out and subjected him to various interrogations, and finally beheaded him. The other 10 vine dressers also accompanied him in his martyrdom.